This is Dr. Ron Kaiser with another session of Winning in Overtime. Uh, this is a session that's designed to help you become winners throughout the lifespan. Once you've gotten overtime, let's do all the things that we can to help win. And we've got a real important topic today, so I'm going to ask my co-host, Neil Haley, to jump on. Let's start talking about owning your body.
Yeah, owning your body, I think it's such an important thing because a lot of times as human beings, we don't monitor our body. We allow the doctors to tell us the bad news. We don't look at a regular basis. We don't check every part of our body, see if anything's swollen, anything is irregular. We might check our blood pressure sometimes, but we really don't look in ourselves in the mirror and say, are we looking healthy? We make these mistakes, especially the older we get, because we get busy doing so many things, we forget about our body. And I think that's what you mean about when owning your body.
Right. I think that owning your body is a continuing job, basically from birth or as soon as you're able to learn about some measures that you can take. And that continues throughout the lifespan and becomes even more important the older you get. And as people who have followed me know, I consider several things that go into owning your body, including exercise, including sleep, uh, including meditation or other stress management techniques. I think these all work together, and we have to think of them as a whole rather than exclusively, or we might neglect something.
100%. So let's see, what can we do to help that?
Well, first of all, let me start out by saying that the research is pretty clear that one of the best medications you can have costs you nothing, and that's exercise. Exercise is good for your body, it's good for your brain. And, while you can join a gym, while you can pay for costly equipment, you don't have to, at least at the beginning. It's important to see that exercise or physical activity is part of the lifestyle for owning your body. Same thing goes with respect to stress management. While we will have a session where we talk more formally about meditation, relaxation training, and so on, if we can interrupt our stress cycle during the course of the day, then we're halfway there. I don't know if halfway is the right percentage, but we're a long distance in terms of doing that, of saying that it's important enough for me to interrupt my busy schedule, or even if it's a not busy schedule, to have some planned stress management, stress interruption activity. Same thing with respect to sleep. While we'll talk about kind of a formal program for this and for people who are having difficulty with it, let's start out easy. Let's make sure that we're getting adequate sleep by setting up a time frame for going to bed that's not going to vary, at least without certain exceptions. Let's not make it difficult at the beginning. Let's own our body by doing some simple kinds of things, and I'll be glad to go into them in more detail as we discuss this.
Okay, let's get going.
Okay, well, first of all, I know a lot of people like myself, and probably like yourself, see exercise as a normal part of their daily activities and something where uh, we feel worse if we don't do it than if we do. There's a large number of people, however, who never learn to make that a normal part of their day. And if you don't, then you're really working against yourself in terms of trying to win in overtime because it is so important. But it doesn't have to start out as a formal thing with what we call exercise that some people got turned off from back in their high school days and haven't done much, at least in an organized way since then. So I always encourage people to recognize that for many people, Physical activity of any type is a step in the right direction. For example, I live a couple of blocks from our supermarket, from our closest supermarket. I live about 7 blocks from a more specialized one. I try to do my shopping in such a way that I can fit everything in for that day shopping into 2 shopping bags. So walking that couple of blocks or walking that 7 blocks and carrying those bags, um, that's physical activity. Some of my neighbors were surprised to learn how much physical activity they do because they do the same thing with respect to shopping. Now that meant when I moved here from the suburbs that I had to break the habit of once a week doing really heavy shopping and then not going the rest of the week unless I run out of something. I mean, planning to do small bursts of this every couple of days is the same thing as doing, or at least it's in the same ballpark as doing regular resistance weight training exercises. If we accept the fact that vacuuming, uh, housework, dusting even, things of that nature uh, are physical activities. Standing up to do cooking are physical activities. And a first step before we talk about exercise, formal exercise, things of that nature, first step is really to program in the fact that this isn't going to be done on a haphazard way. Uh, that we will vacuum, say, part of the house a couple of days a week, so we get in kind of the weight training resistance type exercises a couple of days a week. Uh, I live in an apartment building, so I don't have a garden, but when I did, uh, the gardening involves a lot of squatting, using your hands, uh, tearing out roots and things of that nature. Probably one of the worst things that my family did many years ago was for, I forgot whether it was a birthday or Father's Day, they gave me a lawn service, which took away some normal physical activity that I was doing. So I had to wind up paying for the lawn service after it renewed because I got used to it. But then I had to go wind up paying for the gym, so because I wasn't getting this exercise in the lawn. So my first thing with respect to exercise is that we want to be able to recognize that physical activity is probably a good term to use instead of exercise, at least at the beginning. And I encourage people to do an audit of things that they are doing physically and recognize it and build it into their schedule. Now, if you're not doing anything, then it's important to start. And I would start slowly with what you can do around your house, plus incorporating a certain amount of walking. Uh, don't overdo it at the beginning, but a certain amount of walking is a great activity and something that can be done on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about specifically enough doing those activities, it's working out. Being inactive, not participating in certain things and just having it just, Uber Eats to deliver your groceries or whatever type of program, you're missing out on that heavy lifting. You're missing out and going interacting with people, pushing the cart, doing all these different things, or hiring a cleaning service just because you don't feel like doing it, not because you can't do it. Those things keep you active and keep you going than just being inactive.
Yeah, and there's several things that you can that can have a multiplying effect in this regard. For example, if you get into walking, there are walking groups at various levels that can help with socializing, which, while that's a different category than owning your body, it's an equally important category because, as we've discussed, You don't want to be isolated and lonely. The research is pretty strong to indicate that that deteriorates you overall in terms of your mind and your body. And I think we can then apply the same kind of things to things like meditation or sleep. As I said, one of the things that we really need to do is recognize that if we're a highly stressed individual working in a stressful job or having some family related stress, being a caregiver with a lot of time demands, it's important to interrupt that stress cycle. And whether we interrupt it by just relaxing, taking a few minutes break to listen to music, uh, do some pleasure reading, whatever it may be. Meditation is a skill. It's not as hard as a lot of people who don't meditate uh, think it is, but we'll cover that. But the important thing is to uh, interrupt the stress cycle, even at work. If you're working, they've found out that, say, taking a 5-minute break after 25 minutes of work uh, improves performance. So that the recognition that we want to interrupt the stress cycle because it's good for your body, it's good for your mind, and in some ways, you can do it kind of interspersed with physical activities. In other words, uh, if you work for or whatever you're doing, if you're out of the labor force, if at 25-minute intervals you just rest, and then say every couple of hours build in something physical to do that takes more than 5 minutes. Take your half hour or 15-minute walk, do some of the house cleaning so that the house doesn't go downhill. At the same time, you're not overloading yourself with doing that at one time.
Oh, wow. Some pretty, you're right. Pretty great ideas to owning your body. Anything else you'd like to add today?
I think the only other thing is the one that is just to reinforce the one that I mentioned before. If sleep is an issue for you, and that can be a physiological problem that may require a sleep study, whatever kinds of things, there are different patterns, but I think you probably won't know unless you get some structure to your sleep. So while we can talk about, and will in another session, about some of the techniques that can be helpful. Again, I encourage people to do two things. One, to uh, get an approximately normal bedtime that works for you and works into your schedule. And then if you have the opportunity to do so on a regular basis, or if you have a weekday schedule that's pretty busy, whether it's work or picking up grandchildren or whatever it may be, when you have a free weekend or some days, go to sleep, don't set an alarm clock, and see if we can find what your natural sleeping pattern is. Because for there's variation between 6 and 9 hours for the average amount of sleep that a person needs. And I know that when I found my natural sleeping schedule, which is kind of in the 6.5 to 7.5 hour range, somewhere around 7, um, found that I don't have to yawn during the day, which was a regular part of my experience when I wasn't getting enough sleep. So try and see if you can get regulated on this. And again, we'll talk about specific techniques to help you sleep more appropriately and in a healthy manner if it's an issue for you.
All right. What a show. What a great growing older with enthusiasm going through the winning in overtime series. Appreciate it, Dr. Ron.
Thanks a lot, Neil. It's good talking to you about it, and hopefully we got a few people getting into the process of owning their body more effectively.
All right, thanks.